The upcoming election is only moments away. Now, in reality, most Black Americans are still likely to vote for Kamala Harris if we are to rely upon historical voting patterns. But there is a dedicated and vocal group of Black content creators and Black Republicans who are passionate about their support for Trump and the Republicans. But while we wait for the results, I want to hear what y'all have to say. So I recently shared this image because I thought it opened up a really interesting conversation on how the presidential election actually impacts the day-to-day lives of Black folks. We do know it has some impact, but the reality is state and local government often plays a more crucial role in the day-to-day experiences of Black America. Now, to be fair, we know that not every Black person grew up in the hood or lives there today. But I mention the hood because by and large, most Black folks still live in the inner city or working class environments, and so majority can relate to this reality. But before I waste any more time, let's hear what y'all have to say about this entire situation. We look at this post again, it says the hood under Bush, the hood under Obama, the hood under Trump. The implication here is that nothing changes. It don't matter who's in office and it doesn't matter what party, nothing really changes. That's pretty much the implications of this image, but I want to hear how you guys respond to it. This one says facts. What goes on in your house is much more important than what goes on in the White House. Case in point, it sounds like this person takes the belief that Black people have to be the one to clean up their own communities. That's kind of how I'm reading between that. Now, this one says, unfortunately, a lot of our people don't even vote in the local elections, which have the greatest impact on us. This one got a lot of likes, also a lot of feedback. Here it says, exactly, local politics have so much impact on the things you will see day to day, as well as a change is much more quick since it's localized. Again, going back to what I said earlier, the local and state politics actually does have a higher impact or a more immediate impact than federal. Louder for the folks at the back. So you have some people agreeing. It says voting has nothing to do with it's your responsibility to be active in your hood and protect it. I wouldn't say that voting has no impact, but I do agree with what he's saying that it is ultimately the responsibility of people, of Black folks, to ultimately clean up their communities. Now, the challenge that this opens, and I'm going to be addressing this in an upcoming video, is some people, quite frankly, are so traumatized by the hood, as soon as they get out of it, they're not trying to go back. They have no desire. They're trying to get out of it as soon as possible and are just like trying to move forward. And so, there is this idea of like, look, we got to clean it up. We got to do better. We got to protect it, et cetera, et cetera. It's hard sometimes for people to parcel through the bad apples versus the good apples, like those who actually are trying to fix the problem versus those who perpetuate it. And this is, I concur. The other one here, you still need to vote for how taxes are spent. If the people who don't live in the hood ask for new street lights, street repairs, or a jurisdiction, the council has to vote and approve. We need to vote for the people on the jurisdictions to approve money for the hood as well. Yeah, now that makes sense. Now, this comment right here, like there is a spirit of hopelessness in the hood, a spirit of vote doesn't bring change. I agree with that. This person is looking at it from a spiritual lens. And the thing about when there's a deep-rooted spiritual problem, no amount of physical manipulation is going to be able to address it. And so really, I think what he's going back to is now some of the different generational patterns, some of the different generational curses, ultimately some of the generational activity of trauma, of violence, of broken homes that you find in these areas that do produce this overwhelming feeling of hopelessness. And so he's like, unless you can really deal with that, then voting alone won't necessarily move the needle. You have to deal with some of the deeper emotional and spiritual issues. And I could not agree more. It says, I agree to disagree. It's 2024. A lot of Black people in high places, but even then they don't advocate on our behalf and aren't loyal to their own race. I think it's more important to support our local grassroots organizations who sacrifice time and resources to inform us on how to use our dollar and vote. So shout out to the grassroots activists and organizations nationwide with their boots on the ground. Again, so yeah, I'm going to break this down in an upcoming video. But what he's really alluding to is classism, basically, in the Black community. How you have Black people in high places and Black people in positions, but they don't advocate for their own. And some would argue that that's actually by design, that this system rewards Black people who either sell other Black people out or rewards Black people who have clearly shown they have no allegiance to the Black community, so they're not a threat in any way, shape, or form. So some would argue that that's actually by design. But I think he is right, where it's like there is this divide. You have people who could be advocating or could be doing more, but who share your complexion, but aren't actually doing it. And so it's more important to actually invest in those who show that they have a vested interest in the community. Another one, that's what I've said for decades, multiple administrations, yes. And so another one, it's up to us to fix our community, stop letting the government mediate in our business. So here's another one who's like, look, this is on us. It don't matter who's in the White House. It's actually our job. There's no government housing where I live, and the neighborhood is trashy. Some old homeowners try their best to maintain their homes and neighborhoods, but when they pass on and the heirs take over, many will rent to anyone as long as they are paid. That's who was trashing the neighborhood. For sometimes even in the inner city, depending upon the generational gap, you will see a difference in how people want to take care not only of their own area, but just of the city in general. And you're seeing that there's different mindsets there, for sure. Another one, don't expect someone else to take care of you. You have to still do the work to build yourself. So it's so interesting because I'm hearing a lot of people here, it said just add Biden also. I hear a lot of people here being like, okay, it's Black people's responsibility to build it up. Okay, that's fine. What does that look like? So my thing is, for those who really believe that, it's our responsibility, we need to fix our communities, what does that actually what does it look like? So that opens up a whole nother question, but I'm seeing a lot of people in the comment section ultimately who agree. This one right here says, I really don't care. No matter who's in office, not caring also falls on us. Yeah, so that's another one. It's like, when you don't care, then the problem persists. This is another one. Says, this is why the Black community should move on as a collective instead as individuals, but we are asleep. Dr. Claude Anderson warned of this. No matter who is in office, the Chinese community will be fine. The Hispanic, Latinx community will be fine, as well as the East Indian and the Arabs. Why? Because they bring all the resources together and they move as a collective. Yeah. So this person is advocating for a community mindset, not individualism. Really interesting. So anyways, I think we get the point. Most people I see in the comment section being like, either I agree or look, it's our responsibility to fix this. Firmly believe when you're talking about change in these areas that have been under such heaviness for a long time, it's not just about voting. It's like you have to deal with some of the deeper emotional and spiritual issues. And I think that's where having true spiritual authority is essential. That's really where the church and God's people are supposed to come in, is to come in and actually bring change, starting from the heart and the mindset of these people, starting from the broken spirits, and then moving that into actually how they start to organize and move. So definitely more of a grassroots organic thing. But unfortunately, what we see right now is false churches who will be on every corner, who are either just siding with the politicians or who just don't have spiritual authority to really do or bring any kind of change. Or quite frankly, just are operating under false pretenses. And of course, this isn't every single church. But we have to be honest with the fact that the false gospel has permeated much of the Western civilization. A gospel that doesn't bring liberation and doesn't bring change isn't the gospel of Christ. So that's what we see going around a lot of times, keeping people in bondage. But I firmly believe that has always been the primary vehicle of change, is God's people and those who are actually walking with the Spirit of God to bring change, transformation, and to bring healing in different areas. And then how that translates is getting into these different, whether it be through organization, whether it be through voting, whether it be through running the office. Like, there are actually real life practical implications to that. But I believe it starts with having true spiritual authority, because a lot of these places are under like a demonic evil stronghold. I don't know how else to put it. Darkness that's been in some of these areas where it's like you need a spiritual, like the land itself needs to be spiritually cleansed along with the people, right? So that's why I think it does go far beyond voting. It does go far beyond just getting the right people in office. That does play a point. But if you don't deal with the mindsets and the broken spirit of the people, then you will continue to see exactly what we're seeing today. Be sure to like, share, subscribe on the way out. Hit the notification bell so you are notified each time I go live. And we'll talk later, okay, guys?